I apologize for the sound. I don't do this for a living, therefore I don't have all the tools and stuff to make the sound great. And, I don't have all the time in the world, so I'm just doing this on my way to grab something from the store real quick. This Day of Independence that we celebrate, from being free of the crown, being free from Britain. And that's what most people associate. Most people just associate, the 4th of July or Independence Day with freedom, right? Where a Revolutionary War was fought, which they declared independence, but the Revolutionary War was fought in order to gain that independence that they had declared. And it was, the three main reasons for that war was a 3% tax on tea, a 3% excise tax, an unsound monetary system, and the threat, the king threatening confiscation of arms or cannons, arms, and magazines. Not magazines, not like 30-round mags, but magazines like buildings where munitions were held. That's the three main reasons for the Revolutionary War and why you celebrate Independence Day today. Imagine how think about how you celebrate this day today. Think about how you would celebrate it if, men stood up and said, no, we're no longer paying 60% of our income towards some form of taxation. Whether it be income tax, property tax, state tax, federal tax, local tax, city tax, sales tax, fuel tax, registration tax, licensing tax, and I go on and on. What if it was so that you would they fought a revolution so that the land you worked your life for, you paid for, the home that you worked, the most valuable thing you have is time. You gave up your time plus labor for that home, so that you actually owned it. Because in order to tax something, you must have ownership in that something. For me to tax you to stay in my home, i.e. rent, I must own that home. I can't say, well, you built a home, so you owe me $400 a month. What if we celebrate it because depending on which geographical lines you were within dictated whether or not you were allowed to defend yourself against humans that shouldn't exist and wouldn't exist anyway if not for the 60% tax that I talked about a minute ago. And I know most people can't, see how all those things go together, and there's a lot more. Listen, I can make this an hour long about bullshit. The fact is that you're not free. This country's not independent. I'm sure that the crown is still getting their cut. We 100% know we're not independent from, the little country of 9 million in the Middle East that wants to rule the Middle East, and not only the Middle East but the world. And they do that through you being taxed when you go to work. The federal government says, "Oh, you owe me 30 or 40% of that, or 80% of that, depending on how much you make, depending on how productive you are, according to society. And the more productive you are, the more you're taxed." So it's every year I just find it more and more dumb that people continue to celebrate, and it's absolute bullshit. Oh wow, we're free from Britain, but our government's 150 times worse. Well, we're not under a dictatorship. We're not. Okay, they wasn't then either. A lot of things had to go through Parliament, whatever. But I kind of remember this thing that, since the sheep, the flock, the whole, the majority of the whole, believe that an executive order trumps all else, and somehow can we enforce this law, doesn't that mean we live under a dictatorship? Just saying. Oh, but we get to vote every 4 years. Okay. Run for office next year so I can vote for you. Go ahead. No. A select class get to pretend that they're going to be, they're going to run in this selection. And it's a selection process. Don't get it twisted. It's not an election. It's a selection. The only vote that matters is the one counting them. And you have to be within that class in order to even pretend to run. Odd, isn't it? Independent country that's all free and stuff. Odd to me. Most people I know don't really celebrate today. They might have burgers and stuff, and it's just for like the sake of grilling out or whatever. But nobody buys into it. That I know. I mean, I'm not talking about like my mother and father. I'm talking about like people that that I choose to have in my life that I don't have. They're not in my life because they're family or some other thing. I just passed an enforcer just a second ago. It's how free we are. If I jump in a car that I paid for and drive on a road that I pay for, and I don't pay the extortion to register my car with the state so that they know who I am, and they if I don't pay the extortion to get a license made to drive the car that I paid for on the road that I paid for either of those reasons, a cop will kill me if that's what it means doing, in order to further extort me because I didn't obey the first time. All that independence, man, got us. I bet the forefathers of this country are proud. They're proud of the men of this country for having the spine and hearts and standing up for what's right. Fuck, I bet they are ecstatic over flock cameras. Ecstatic. Not just flock cameras, now they got flock drones. Yeah, the flock camera flags, Buddy Holly sitting in the back seat through its AI facial recognition program, runs it through the AI, and if Buddy Holly looks like Jimmy Joe, it'll flag your car so that they can pull him over if he's got a warrant. And the drone will now follow your car. I think it's up to 20 miles. And if it runs out of starts to run out of battery, another drone will join in the chase. The first drone will dock itself to repower up while the second drone goes on, and if they will, if it has to keep passing along until cops get there, then that's what they'll do. 3 or 4 drones, doesn't matter. And they'll keep going. Man, I bet they're proud. God damn. 3% tax on tea. And an unsound monetary system. Our monetary system is just fucking cuckoo. It don't even make sense. It's valueless. We'd be better bartering or trading car parts. Or fucking 20-ounce Cokes. Not 20 ounces of Coke. 20-ounce Cokes, like drinks. But even 20 ounces of Coke, I mean, it would be more valuable than the bills that we play with today. Because it's complete fiat. It means nothing. That's why we're $40 trillion in debt. Plus another almost $300 or $300 trillion in unfunded liabilities that your children, your great-grandchildren, your great-great-great, if we quit spending money today, right? If today they said there's no more federal tax, well, number one, it would never get paid. But let's say the federal government said we're not spending any more money, period, as of today, until all of our debts are paid. It would be 3 or 4 generations before those debts were paid. How do you come back from that? You don't. So what do? Well, if you're in that class that's allowed to run for these positions, to pretend to or take these positions, what you do is you enrich yourself as much as you can, and you buy real property like, tangible assets like gold or silver or even land and homes, because you can claim it's yours in the next whatever we have, which is coming. And you enrich yourself that way as much as you can. Kind of odd that everybody in the federal government's multi-millionaires. We just had a bar whore go in a few years ago. Literally, a bartending whore who magically is worth, tens of millions of dollars now. Dumber than a box of fucking rocks. Worth tens of millions of dollars. I don't understand it. Odd how, we like as the people allow those who create policy, because it's not law. Law is our Constitution. That's what law is. Like, but you can't tell the masses that, because the average person is just stupid when it comes to anything constitutional. They believe they know, but they don't. They don't even know what freedom is. I mean, look at how many people celebrate today. It's a joke. But we let these people who make these policies, we let them start an enforcement class. Who's going to enforce their policies? That happened like in the late 1830s. And then we allow them to make policy dictating what their own salaries are. And that when they are in session, that they cannot be charged for a crime. See, that's how like the insider trading, kind of like a bar whore becoming a multi-millionaire in just a few short years. That's how that happens. It's not that insider trading is not illegal. It's just illegal for you to do. It's not illegal for them to do. Not when they're in session. And now they're in session, 10 months out of the year. The other 2 months they're at their their vacation house in the Hamptons, the multi-million-dollar vacation house in the Hamptons. Just relaxing, laughing. I'm sure they're celebrating their independence today because no policies apply to them. Not even when they're out of session. No policies apply to, Elon Musk or the Amazon dude, whatever the hell his name is. It's sickening. This country is fucking a disgrace. The men of this country, including myself, are a fucking disgrace. We don't deserve the oxygen we breathe for what we've allowed to happen. And it's only going to get worse. And it'll just only continue to get worse because nobody's willing to put a stop to it as a whole. And every now and then we see somebody that, like for instance, some Virginia Beach cops, that took an oath to defend their masters and enforce their policy. Pulled a gentleman over recently for an expired tag. Because, in Virginia Beach, man, when guys run around with expired tags, that's the crime of the century. Because, there's no rape or murder or nothing like that there. And the guy said, fuck you all, and he shot both of these cops. And they sell it as a sad story as he shot them a second time as they were laying defenseless on the ground. How many videos have you watched where fucking 10 cops have unloaded multiple magazines into somebody that's been laying on the ground fucking defenseless? But that's not the way they sell the story then. Then it was, some criminal who didn't pay their extortion fee to drive the vehicle that they paid for, the road that they paid for, refused to obey and wouldn't get out of his car. So we had 10 officers show up for officer safety and stuff, and they unfortunately had to unload 77 9mm shells into him and 42 AR-15 or 5.56 shells. It was unfortunate. He just wouldn't put his hands behind his back when we told him to. That's why he deserved so many shells. a fucking joke, man. And then you have these groups like Strippers on a Pole, Moms Demand Action. These old fucking dusty pussy bitches, going into like the state Senate meetings or whatever. I think the video I watched was actually like it might have been a state Senate meeting for California, whatever, about these 3D printers and how dangerous they are because they can print gun parts. And what they want to do now with 3D printers, because you're so free and shit, there's no longer going to be any open source. You're going to have to run your programs through the manufacturer of the 3D printer, and AI is going to dictate whether or not that part can be used as a quote unquote ghost gun. Because these bitches are stupid. We've proven that before on this channel. If you go back and look at that video, Dad's Demand Action. We did have a second video, live stream of the whores in red moms demand action and how stupid they fucking are in person. They're just dumb. They don't know anything about anything that they say. As long as gun control is attached to it, they support it. And 100 of them bitches will show up. So yes, we're for it because it's going to save lives. Here's a little fucking secret for you. Here's a secret that most people don't know. I'm going to tell you though. You got to promise not to tell nobody else. People who want to do harm to other people don't give a fuck about a gun law. A gun law has never stopped anybody from getting a gun. Never has. What it has done is it's imprisoned a lot of peaceful people that want to do no more than protect themselves and their families. Like, what if we took a cop's gun every time they were violent? Makes sense, right? Because they want to, quote unquote, take your rights. If you do anything that they consider to be violent. Here in Tennessee, they're now trying to, as of now in Tennessee, if you have a domestic violence protection order against you, because we know females don't go to court and lie. We know that can never happen. Because you're so free, Moms Demand Action is pushing this bill where they want to make it so. So right now, the state already says you have to turn over any guns you own to a third party. But you don't have to tell the state who that third party is. Well, if Moms Demand Action wants to know who you turn those guns over, because you could lie. You could lie and really not turn your guns over to anybody. Never mind it. You could turn your guns over to anybody you wanted to and then just go get a fucking another one. I mean, how many times do I have to say it? Heroin has been illegal in this country. Cocaine has been illegal in this country. Since the teens. Since the fucking teens. It still comes in by the ton. You cannot stop people from doing what they want to do. Who does it stop? Maybe you. Who was you going to harm? Oh, nobody. Huh. So what happens if you get caught? Oh, you get thrown in a cage. And you become a part of this system called the prison industrial complex where dollars are made off of you at every point. Oh, the largest prison system in the world, that is. Got more people in prison in this country than any other country in the world because all that independence and shit. Let your fireworks off and grill your steaks, boys and girls. Over a 3% tax, an unsound monetary system, and the threat of confiscation of arms, cannons, and magazines. I'm surrounded by a bunch of smooth brains.